Sila stirred slightly, her body still frail from the 3 weeks spent in a psionic coma. Despite her unconscious state, her face had been anything but still. Sometimes she laughed uncontrollably. Other times she sobbed or scowled in inexplicable anger. 2 attendants stood by her bedside, whispering in hushed tones. "This is Sai'la," the first attendant said, her voice tinged with disbelief. "The greatest psionic of our age. She was always so proud, so arrogant. She believed there wasn't a mind in the galaxy she couldn't conquer. And now, look at her." 3 weeks. This is the first time any psionic has ever been in a coma this long, the second attendant murmured, glancing around the room. They had to build this separate observation chamber just for her. No one knew what to expect. The first nodded gravely. "The council said they've never encountered anything like this before. Her condition is severe. She would be lucky if her mind even recovers from that encounter." The second's frown deepened. What exactly happened? How did someone as powerful as Sai'la end up like this? The first attendant sighed. She broke the cardinal rule. She entered a human's mind. The second gasped, her eyes widening in shock. "What? But there's an entire section in the rulebook warning against that. Why would she do something so reckless?" "Who knows?" the first replied, shaking her head. "She must have thought she was different, better than the rest. She always believed her skills were unmatched. But why? Was the human dangerous?" The first gave a bitter laugh. "Not physically, no. But mentally? That's another story. The human had something they call ADHD." "ADHD?" the second asked, her brow furrowed in confusion. "What's that?" "It's complicated. Humans have all these strange mental conditions we've never encountered before. ADHD is one of them. It makes their thoughts chaotic, constantly shifting, like trying to hold water in your hands. Every study we've done on humans warns us of their unpredictability." The second shivered slightly. "And she tried to control that?" "She did," the first replied solemnly. "Humans have dozens of conditions like this. ADHD, OCD, anxiety, depression, even things they call obsessive thoughts. Their minds are storms. Every psionic study of humans ends the same way, with the same warning in bold, ominous text. Never enter a human mind. Never." As if on cue, Sai'la groaned softly, her eyelids fluttering. The first attendant gasped, her tone urgent. "She's waking up. Quick, inform the council head." The soft whisper of flowing fabric heralded the arrival of Valoria the Mindseer. A tall, ethereal figure with translucent silver-blue skin, she moved with serene grace. Her crystalline eyes shimmered like starlight, and faintly glowing patterns on her forehead pulsed gently with her presence. The room seemed to settle in her wake, her calm energy radiating outward. "Sai'la," Valoria said, her voice a soothing melody as she approached the bedside. "How do you feel?" Sai'la stirred, her breathing shallow but growing steadier. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first, before suddenly widening. She bolted upright, her movements frantic and unsteady. Why? Why was he wondering if cats have regional accents? She blurted out, her voice cracking with confusion. Her hands trembled as she pressed them against her temples. And why did he suddenly think about pineapple's pizza? What's a pineapple pizza? And then, oh, stars above, the colours, so many colours, and the song about, what was it? Oh no, it's gone. Her words spilled out, nonsensical and disjointed. The attendants exchanged nervous glances as Sai'la's breathing quickened. Valoria stepped forward, raising a hand. A faint, shimmering light emanated from her fingertips as she reached out with her mind. "Be still, Sai'la," she whispered, her voice resonating in the psionic plane. Sai'la froze, her frantic thoughts slowing as Valoria's calming presence enveloped her. The chaotic tangle of emotions within her ebbed, replaced by a gentle wave of serenity. After a moment, Sai'la exhaled deeply and slumped back against the pillows, her body trembling from the effort. Her gaze, though still distant, was now less panicked. "I was wrong," Sai'la finally said, her voice soft and hoarse. "Their minds, they aren't just chaotic. They're a bottomless sea, vast, endless, and terrifying." Valoria crouched slightly, meeting Sai'la's eyes with an unyielding, compassionate gaze. "Start from the beginning," she said gently. "Tell me everything." I remember it clearly, as if it were yesterday. I was in a restaurant, an expansive, bustling establishment where the scents of countless cuisines mingled in the air. The clientele was diverse, with beings from dozens of species filling the tables. Conversations buzzed around me like the hum of a hive, but I had tuned it all out, content with my meal. Then I heard it, a voice, peculiar in its tone and cadence, breaking through the usual noise. "Excuse me? Waiter?" I glanced over and saw him, a human, just sitting there, waiting for his order. At first glance, there was nothing remarkable about him, a standard specimen of his kind, average build, hair neatly combed, posture relaxed. But the sound of his voice lingered in my mind, resonating in a way I couldn't explain. Humans. I had heard so much about them. Beings with minds as unruly as an untamed nebula, their thoughts described as erratic, fragmented, and utterly unpredictable. It was said that their emotions could shift in an instant, like a storm breaking without warning. Some scholars whispered that their mental chaos gave them a kind of resilience, allowing them to achieve feats that defied logic. But to me, those were just rumours, exaggerations of lesser psionics who lacked the skill to fully comprehend them. I am Sila, one of the greatest psionics to ever live. I have delved into the minds of warlords and philosophers, navigated the intricacies of alien thoughts no one else dared approach. I have never encountered a mind I could not master. Curiosity stirred within me. What made humans so unique, so dangerous that we were forbidden from entering their minds? I decided then and there to find out. What harm could it do? I extended my consciousness, brushing against his mind like a whisper of wind. At first his thoughts seemed straightforward, even mundane. If I'm waiting for the waiter, does that make me the waiter? The human chuckled to himself, amused by his own thought. I was unimpressed. This is what they fear, I thought. But then, without warning, the moment he took the holographic menu from the waiter, his mind exploded into chaos, the illuminated display casting shifting colours across his face. As I stood within his thoughts, it was like being pulled into a whirlpool of hesitation, uncertainty, and regret. All right, let's not mess this up. Just pick something normal this time, he thought, scrolling through the categories. His gaze flitted across the options for native dishes of different species. A holographic image of a glistening plate of something called Thavon Crees, a Kalari delicacy, flickered into view. Its description promised a rich, savoury experience with aromatic bursts of choric spice. That looks interesting. Maybe I should try something new, he thought. For a brief moment, a flicker of excitement lit his mind, but it was quickly drowned out by doubt. But what even is choric spice? What if it's too strong? Or worse, what if it makes me sick? His thoughts spiraled. Last time I tried alien food, it was that Louvren stew. It smelled great, but it tasted like spicy socks soaked in fish oil. I could barely eat 2 bites. Everyone laughed. No, stick to something familiar. No experiments. He sighed, swiping back to the section for human dishes. A hologram of a classic burger and fries appeared, its warm, golden hues starkly contrasting with the alien options. Safe, predictable, but kind of boring, he thought. His fingers hesitated, hovering over the option. Why do I always pick the same thing? Why can't I just try something new? But then the memory of the stew surfaced again, his stomach clenching, the chorus of laughter echoing around him. His jaw tightened. Not this time. I'm not embarrassing myself again. His internal struggle rippled outward, the colours of his mindscape flickering between cautious amber and deep, unsettling crimson. Even as he made his choice, a simple chicken dish with roasted vegetables, the doubt didn't fade. I hope this is good. What if it's dry? What if it's bland? His mind whispered, even as he handed the menu back. What if I should have tried something new? The storm of thoughts didn't end, his decision providing no real relief. For something as routine as ordering food, his mind fought a battle I could hardly comprehend. The holographic menu might have displayed endless options, but for him every choice felt like a risk, a step into the unknown. I braced myself as I delved deeper into the human's mind. What I had experienced so far, the fleeting, fragmented thoughts about food and social embarrassment, was, as I would soon realize, just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. His mind was not a river I could navigate. It was an ocean, vast and uncharted, its surface deceptively calm, but hiding undercurrents that threatened to pull me under. As the initial indecision faded, his thoughts ricocheted to something entirely unrelated. Did I leave the stove on? No, he distinctly remembered checking it, twice even, but then a pang of doubt hit him like a jolt of static electricity. Wait, was that yesterday? Panic began to creep in, a nagging whisper that refused to let go. What if I burn the house down? Like that one time, years ago, when I almost set the apartment on fire making toast. Toast. Who burns toast? His mind spiraled further. I should have just bought a new toaster. Why didn't I? And seriously, why do toasters even have a setting that turns bread into charcoal? Who uses that? Do aliens have toasters? Do their toasters also have that evil setting? I reeled, trying to follow the thread, but it was like grasping at smoke. His thoughts churned with the intensity of a star going supernova, each fragment colliding with the next. I felt my composure falter. This was unlike anything I'd ever encountered. Minds I had entered before were linear, their thoughts organized, even if layered with emotions. But here, there was no order, only chaos. I tried to ground myself, focusing on the sensory details of the mindscape. The human's emotions painted his thoughts in vivid colors. The embarrassment was a deep crimson, the fleeting curiosity a shimmering gold, and the anxiety about his food sickly green. But before I could latch onto any one color, the hues twisted and swirled, blending into something else entirely. I should call my mom. I haven't called her in weeks. Or has it been months? Does she even like talking to me? His thoughts became tinged with a shade of blue, a quiet sadness. I should have visited her last year, but work was so busy. Work. Oh no, I forgot to reply to that email. Or did I? What if I missed the deadline? The anxiety surged, the green returning with renewed vigor. I gasped, the intensity of his self-recrimination striking me like a physical blow. His thoughts were relentless, each one springing up before the previous had time to resolve. I could feel his frustration simmering beneath it all. It was as if he wanted his mind to quiet, to slow down, but it simply refused. His thoughts veered sharply in another direction. That food over that table looks delicious. Why didn't I order that? A pang of regret washed through his mind, sharp and unrelenting. Wait, what is the name of that dish? Should I ask the waiter? No, that would be ridiculous. I've already ordered. There's no turning back now. The regret twisted, mutating into frustration, then self-recrimination. Why does this always happen to me? I tried to steady myself, but the emotions hit like crashing waves, each thought pulling me under. His regret wasn't just about the food, it was emblematic of something deeper, a persistent self-doubt that shadowed his every decision. Even as he tried to push the thought away, I could feel the echo of it lingering, an undertow dragging at his mind. I could almost hear his subconscious whispering, "Why didn't you make a better choice? Why are you always like this?" It was suffocating. And yet, he didn't stop. His mind had already jumped to the next thing, leaving the remnants of this small, self-contained regret to fester in the background. I wanted to scream, to tell him to let it go, but I was just a silent observer caught in the torrent. The experience left me shaken. Even over something as trivial as a meal, his thoughts churned endlessly, wringing every drop of worry and guilt from the moment. It wasn't just chaotic, it was merciless. And then the waiter arrived, placing the dish before him. "Enjoy your food, sir," the waiter said politely. "Thank you, you too," the human replied automatically. A sudden, overwhelming wave of embarrassment washed over his mind, so strong that it nearly threw me out of his head. "Why did I say that? You too. He's not eating. He's the waiter. Now he probably thinks I'm an idiot. Great. Just great." I felt his internal cringe, a reflexive tightening of his entire being, and I couldn't help but recoil slightly. His thoughts spiraled, replaying the moment over and over. Maybe he didn't notice? No, he definitely noticed. Should I apologize? No, that'll make it worse. Just eat your food and pretend it didn't happen. Oh no, I hope no one else heard. It was dizzying. Embarrassment layered upon itself, looping endlessly in his mind. I wanted to retreat, to take a moment to compose myself, but his thoughts kept pulling me along. I had never encountered anything like it. I'd entered his mind out of curiosity, perhaps even arrogance, believing that I could unravel the mystery of the human psyche. But now I was beginning to understand why we were forbidden from doing so. Their minds weren't just unpredictable. They were vast, unending seas of thought and emotion, too deep and tumultuous for any outsider to navigate unscathed. As he looked at the plate of chicken and roasted vegetables placed in front of him, a wave of relief momentarily quieted the storm in his mind. Finally, this smells amazing. Okay, just eat and don't overthink it. He picked up his fork, took a bite and chewed thoughtfully. Not bad. Definitely not sock-soaked in fish oil. A win. As he took another bite of the chicken, his mind began to wander. This is good. But is it good? Or just good because I was starving? What if it's actually mediocre and I've just tricked myself into liking it? He paused mid-chew, staring at the roasted vegetables. Why do roasted veggies always taste better than boiled ones? Who even figured that out? Did someone accidentally burn their food and decide, hey, this is better? I mean, who was the first person to even cook food? Did they know they were onto something, or was it just a lucky guess? He swallowed, shook his head, and sighed. Great. Now I'm overthinking vegetables. The thoughts surged again. Lightsabers. Why aren't they real yet? But wait, what if they were? If you dropped one, would it just keep cutting through the floor? Through the entire building? What if it never stopped? Would it slice right into the planet's core? Could a single mistake with a lightsaber destroy a world? He shuddered slightly at the thought, but then reconsidered. Maybe there'd be a safety feature, like a dead man's switch. But then again, if the switch failed, oh no. Could you imagine being the guy who obliterated half the city with a glorified flashlight? The absurdity of it all lit up his mindscape with sharp bursts of colour, flickering between metallic blue and electric yellow. I staggered at the sudden shift. This line of thinking had absolutely nothing to do with the meal or his surroundings. It was as if his mind had catapulted onto an entirely different track, accelerating away into chaos at warp speed. Before I could even steady myself, the thoughts shifted again. Fish. What if fish could get seasick? I mean, they live in water, so they're always moving, right? But what if a really rough current just messes them up? Do they throw up underwater? Oh no, would other fish eat that? They totally would. Fish are weird. Why am I even thinking about this? Do fish ever get tired of swimming? What happens if they just stop? Do they sink? Float? No, they'd probably get eaten. Poor fish. Then suddenly his thoughts took an unexpected turn. Wait, why are fish on my mind? Oh, that alien totally looks like one. The absurdity of the thought rippled through his mindscape like gentle waves, tinged with hues of green and blue, swirling aimlessly. Focus, I thought, echoing his own internal plea. But it was futile. His mind was unrelenting. I should get a pet. Maybe a dog. Dogs are amazing, loyal, fun, always happy to see you. That would be perfect. A spark of excitement lit up his mind, only to dim a moment later. But dogs need so much attention. Walks, training. What if I can't keep up? What if I'm a terrible dog owner? A pang of anxiety crept in. A cat might be better. They're independent, low maintenance. He brightened slightly. But what if it hates me? Cats always look like they're judging you, like they know something you don't. The thought left him unsettled. Okay, maybe something smaller. A hamster? Yeah, a hamster. They're cute and... No, I'd probably lose it under the couch or something. That would be awful. A wave of gloom followed and he sighed internally. What about a turtle? Turtles are chill, long-lived. For a fleeting moment he smiled. But wait, what if it outlives me? That's actually kind of depressing. His mood sank further. A fish? No, I'd forget to clean the tank and then feel guilty every time I saw it. Maybe I should just get a plant. Confusion set in, his thoughts spiraling. Is a plant even a pet? What would I name it? Something classy? Like Petunia. No, that's boring. Cactus McThornface? That's ridiculous. He paused, frowning. Oh no, now I'm overthinking plants. What is wrong with me? My head felt as if it would split open. How could one being process so many thoughts at once? It wasn't just the volume, it was the way they overlapped, blending into each other like an abstract painting. And yet there was a strange logic to the madness, a rhythm to the chaos. Then came a sudden spike of dread. My room, it's a mess, I should clean it. I said I would. I said that yesterday, and the day before. Why can't I just do it? Just get up and do it. It's not that hard, but it is. I'll do it tomorrow. Probably. No, definitely tomorrow. The self-directed frustration rippled through his mindscape, turning it a deep, stormy grey. I winced, feeling the weight of his guilt and the undercurrent of helplessness. I realized then why his thoughts affected me so deeply. They weren't just random fragments. They were reflections of his struggles, his hopes, his fears. Each one was a window into his soul, and I couldn't look away. I had come here to satisfy my curiosity, but now I felt a growing sense of responsibility. This mind wasn't just chaotic, it was alive, vibrant, and uniquely human. And then everything stopped. His mind, once a torrent of ceaseless motion, stilled as if frozen in time. The relentless swirl of thoughts evaporated, leaving behind an eerie, suffocating silence. A chasm of emptiness stretched out before me, unnerving in its vastness. For the first time since I had entered, I was no longer surrounded by the constant ebb and flow of his consciousness. There was only nothing. I gasped, horrified. Had I done something? Had I damaged his mind? The thought clawed at me, panic surging through my consciousness. But just as quickly as the void appeared, it was filled with something different. No, not filled. It was as if his mind had simply stopped. A strange, unbroken silence stretched out, the usual hum of thoughts and worries suddenly absent. It was like staring into nothingness, a moment where nothing existed, where thoughts didn't intrude. How could this be? A mind so full of chaos, of noise, had gone completely still, as if it had found a rare, impossible pause. Was this even possible? I took the moment to retreat from his mind. I watched as the human stared blankly ahead, lost in that strange void of nothingness. But then, abruptly, a stone-skinned Zorian shouted, "Hey, why are you staring at me?" The human snapped out of it, blinking in confusion, then quickly apologized, embarrassment flashing across his face. My curiosity, ever persistent, got the better of me. Without hesitation, I slipped back into his mind again.